Hello, everybody. We're the Slowed and Reverb podcast. We're going to be talking about some music today. My name's Jonathan. I'll be the primary host, and joining me are Brandon and Richard, two of my friends. You want to introduce yourselves?
I guess I'll go first. I'm a veteran to this podcast or whatever. Episode 2, by the way. But yeah, my name's Brandon. Yeah, I go by Logic or Dicey, whichever one.
Hey, I'm Richard. This is my first time being on the podcast. I'm not the most well versed in rap, especially not, before recent times, but you know, I I'm an avid enjoyer of current rap right now, and I'm excited to see where it's going.
All right. And with that, we're going to jump in. So, you know, on this podcast, we're going to talk about music as it comes out. We're probably going to do album listenings, give our thoughts on how things sound. We're going to do all that great stuff in the future. But before we talk about any of that, I felt like it'd be good for the potential crowd out there to get to know how we like our music, our tastes, because all of our tastes vary differently. And if you can kind of get a grasp of what we like, it'll be easier for you as the audience to understand where we're coming from if we, you know, listen to Dark Twisted Fantasy and Richard says he hates it. Just as just so that way you can kind of get a feel for where we're at in our taste. So our first topic is going to be our top 5 favorite personal rappers, and to start us off, we're going to have Brandon go.
All right, so I'll start off. I want to give a just a quick honorable mentions. Um, these people I do listen to often, and they would have made the cut, but either I'm not still not too familiar with their music, or they technically don't count. So for the first honorable mention, real quick, Frank Ocean. I remember the last podcast we said that he was more of a singer first than a rapper, so just put him up there. And then Freddie Gibbs, I really got into Freddie Gibbs in the past couple of years. Love his music, but I'm still unfamiliar with his music, but I enjoy his music a lot. So I guess to start off my list, I'd have Earl Sweatshirt. I've been listening to Earl since like 2013, around the same time as I've listened to Tyler. I really like Earl's lyrics. The way he samples, the way he produces, I really love. Basically, I think there's not a single album that I hate by Earl. I really loved his last project, Some Rap Songs or whatever. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was Feet of Clay. I think Feet of Clay was slept on, by the way. But yeah, Earl Sweatshirt, top 5. He's like a MF Doom prodigy. And yeah, and he's gotten me through tough times in like high school and stuff. Number 4, we have and these aren't in any particular order. These can like be interchangeable, especially when I get to like my top 3, top 2. But number 4, I'd say Denzel Curry, fellow Floridian. I got to support my I guess my local rappers even though he's not that local, but he's still Floridian. Denzel Curry, I really got into his music like a couple of years ago. I have never listened to a Denzel Curry song before. Before I got into Taboo, I think the only song I heard was like Ultimate, and that was like a meme song, so it didn't really count. And then when I listened to Taboo, I was like, "Whoa, this guy's good." I think Cash Maniac and Perks are like one of my two top songs on there that I probably like top 20 songs on my Spotify or whatever because I love those two songs.
Oh yeah, Perks is a great song.
Yeah, and then he dropped Zoo and Unlocked. Unlocked, by the way, really great project. Um, but yeah, Denzel Curry, I really love his music, and he's Floridian, so just like me. So, top three. This is where it gets a little bit like interchangeable for me. I have Kanye West as number three, maybe number two. Number he could be whatever. I really love Kanye, his production, the influence that he's had on the rap scene, and even be just in music in general. Um, I don't think there's a Kanye album that I don't hate apart from 808 and Heartbreaks, and I don't necessarily hate that album. I just think it's his weakest, not his weakest, but like my least favorite, basically. But I love Kanye. I love his production. I love his connections to other artists, and I love how some of my favorite artists like work with him, like Tyler, Cardi recently. So yeah, I'd say for number two, I'll probably put Playboy Cardi. I love Cardi a lot. Like his probably like one of his biggest fans. I got into Cardi like around 20 when he dropped his self-titled mixtape, Playboy Cardi or whatever. I really liked the simplicity in his music. It's overall, it's really good. It's like a good vibe. I don't know how to explain it, but Cardi is one of my favorites. I loved Die Lit when he released it, and I was really hyped for Whole Lotta Red. That album grew on me, and Cardi has arguably some of the best leaks out there, and it kind of sucks because that kind of like hurts him because if his music gets leaked, then he has to either re-record music or just scrap out music completely. But I love Cardi. I love his fashion sense. I love his aesthetic, and yeah. And then I'd say number one is Tyler the Creator. I've been a fan of Tyler since like 2013. My first song was Tamale on Wolf. Um, I really like it's kind of edgy, but like I really like the whole mentality of like fuck everything on Odd Future, Wolf can kill them all, whatever. Um, he really stood out from other rappers, you know, because he wasn't like he was he did everything by himself, basically production, lyricism. Let's see what else. I love Wolf. I love Cherry Bomb. I think Cherry Bomb is heavily underrated. The production on that album is amazing. Flower Boy was amazing. Igor is one of my favorite albums. And I also really dig his kind of like his fashion sense again. Like with Cardi, I really love Tyler's brand. I really love what he's done to the music community, you know, kind of show other rappers that you don't necessarily need to be backed up by a big name label or something. Like you can do it by yourself and you know make something out of it. And I really like Odd Future. They all have unique members with unique music. And yeah, that's my top five: Tyler, Kanye, Cardi, Denzel, and Earl.
Solid list. Solid list. Thanks for sharing. Richard, before I give my thoughts, you have any thoughts on Brandon's list there?
I think it's a pretty solid list, and I mean I have to agree with Tyler, of course. You know, we're both Zoomers, so we both love Tyler.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of like Tyler bias.
These dang Tyler stands. Ugh, what did I get myself into? All right, well, I really like seeing Denzel on there. He's one of my. He won't be on my list when I get to him, but he is one of my favorites that is out recently. So I'm really happy to see him. The Gibbs
Yeah,
honorable mention, you'll see why I like that. And I like your list. It's pretty solid, and I know it captures your taste pretty well. So
yeah, I think
just
it covers all boundaries.
oh yeah, especially the Cardi, you know.
Yeah, that's like the one standout because you have like all these like lyrical rappers, or like yeah, basically lyrical rappers, and you have Cardi. Like,
All right, so from that, I guess we'll jump to Richard here. Richard, let's hear your top five personal favorite.
So like Brandon, I'm gonna give a honorable mention to Frank Ocean. He'd be on this list near the top, if not at the top. But I mean, you know, he's not really rap as much as he is like pop and R&B. So I guess to start off my list, and it feels kind of weird saying this, but I really love Aesop Rocky, and I don't even listen to much of his solo work, but like anytime he has a feature on a song, like I think personally he just kills it. I don't think there's ever a time where like Aesop is on the song and I'm hating it, because he always makes a welcome addition to any song. I think he was on RAF, I'm pretty sure, and
Yeah, he was.
that track in general is just really smooth, but he just adds so much to that track. And Who Dat Boy, he just complements Tyler so well on that song. He's a really versatile rapper. He really makes any song better. Number 4, I'd probably say Vince Staples. You know, like ASAP, you know, his features aren't you know, they fit well in a song, and his own tracks, you know, he always has great production. He always has really good flows on his songs. And he there's a bit of variety with the songs. You know, he has a bit of range. The Alyssa interlude on Big Fish Theory is something that comes to mind because it's a pretty slow song compared to Yeah Right with Kendrick Lamar. You know, just very two contrasting songs on like a really tight record. Like he's just a great artist. For my third pick, I'd probably pick JPEG Mafia. He's just so incredible. Like I'm not. He's like my gateway to experimental music, really, and he's like the only. Like I know he's not very comparable to Death Grips. I'm not even sure if he likes being compared to Death Grips, but like I could not get into them. But JPEG Mafia's production is just so out there. He just makes everything work. There's just so many like weird samples that he has on his songs, and they just all work really well. And even in like his newer songs that aren't very sample heavy, you know, they sound pretty normal, I guess, but he still kills it in terms of production and just vocal delivery. And of course, like the others, his features are really great. The one on the Gorillaz album with I don't remember the other the other feature on that, but that is a really good song. And his song with TK Meiza is also a really great song. So for my second, I'd probably I'd probably say Childish Gambino is my second. He's not really doing a lot of rapping now, but what he did on Because of the Internet and some of March 15th, 2020, uh, you know, I don't know. Something about him just really resonates with me. And like his evolution from his like childish raps on Camp and Cul-de-sac, and then his transition to more serious raps and more cohesive raps on Royalty and Because the Internet is just really awesome to see. Like I respect his older works, but they, you know, they're not as good as his newer stuff. And he's really grown as an artist. I'm really excited to see, you know, where he goes next from here. And then my top personal favorite rapper is Tyler. I mean, he is just, you know, everything that I like about the other 4 on my list. I think Tyler executes everything well. His past 2 albums have been smash hits. You know, I love Flower Boy, and I think Igor quickly overshadowed Flower Boy in terms of structure, production, lyrical content. I loved A Boy Is a Gun and New Magic Wand on that album. And his features are pretty great too. There was that one feature on the Lil Yachty record earlier in 2020 that was just fantastic. Uh, and like Brandon said, I'm really in love with his clothing brand and everything he's aspired to become in his career.
All right, nice, solid list. Thanks for sharing. Uh, I'll give my thoughts first this time. Tyler, no surprise there. I knew it was coming in both of y'all's list. That's fine. But I am shocked to see Vince Staples. I'm shocked and I'm not shocked because I know he worked with some of the Odd Future camp before, and I can understand that being like a segue into Vince Staples. But I really like Vince Staples a lot. Especially you know, Summertime '06. All of his projects really just resonate in me, and I've always appreciated how. I mean, he doesn't claim to be a conscious rapper, but I mean, the content is there. It's definitely there in all his works, and I really like how attached he is to that world, and it kind of gives you a glimpse into what he's lived. And it's your thoughts, Brandon?
I'm really surprised that you put JPEG Mafia. I never knew you listened to JPEG Mafia to
I
Peggy's.
love JPEG, dude.
So yeah, he's pretty great. He's good. I love the Ball remix with Denzel Curry. That's a good song. I was also surprised to see ASAP Rocky. I think he doesn't get a lot of like praise for his work because he's mostly seen as like an icon rather than like a rapper. He's more
Yeah.
known for like his fashion sense and stuff like that. So I'm really glad you put Rocky up there. Give some attention to him.
All right, with that, I guess it's my turn. So I'll get into it. So number 5, I have written Aesop Rock. I doubt any of you have ever even heard an Aesop Rock song. He's kind of out there, underground,
No, he's not wrong.
but he is. I don't know. He is the wizard of wordplay. There are times where I'll listen to his oldest stuff and still be like blown away by what he's doing with words. He makes the words bow down to him in such a way. He paints these strange, vivid pictures with such obscure language. I know there was a study done about Aesop Rock where well, it wasn't just about him. It was about rappers as a whole, about their vocabulary size, and this guy found out all these guys' vocabularies based on their music, and ranked them accordingly. And then someone said, "Hey, you should include Aesop Rock in there." And he's like, "Okay, whatever. I'll look into him." Never heard of the guy. He looked into him. Aesop Rock beat the second highest vocabulary by like I want to say like 1,000 something words. Like it was
Wow,
a
that's
big jump.
yeah.
But he does things with words that just blow my mind. His production's always great. He works with some great underground producers here and there. Tobacco, some other ones. He has a history with LP from Run the Jewels, and their work together is always fantastic. I think they had a bit of a falling out, so they don't work anymore together. But still, he has an ear for instrumentals. He produces most of his own, and I love his vibe. I love his lyrics, and all his songs just do such a great job of painting a picture that in a way, you kind of have to piece it together yourself. It's like a puzzle that you're like, what does that even mean? And then you'll stare at it for hours, and then it'll finally click one day, and you can see the imagery that he's getting at. And I really like him a lot. Number 4, I'm surprised no one has mentioned him. To be honest, I put Kendrick Lamar at number 4. Very staple, solid pick. I feel. Kendrick has he has an ear and an eye. He has a vision when it comes to his music. He puts out a project, and it's like very accurate in what he wants. At least I hope so, because he takes a concept and just runs with it. And on every work he's had, it's been so cohesive, so together, and it makes every album feel like it's bigger than it actually is. Like one listen through, you can get so much out of. Um, Kendrick just does fantastic things with music. He's always on the cutting edge, I feel. He's always doing things that his contemporaries wish they could do. And I mean, he said it himself. He's a conscious rapper, but he's out here putting out some of the biggest numbers. He made like big sales with an album like To Pimp a Butterfly. That album is so far out there compared to everything else that was released that year, and like honestly since. It's such a strange album that he took to great heights based on just the fact that it was good alone. And that album alone, like you could write essays on that album. It's so fantastic the way he really put in like black excellence into the album. I can't talk today. And just let it shine through all these artistic expressions of like jazz and the interview with Tupac throughout it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful work that, I mean, lots of people say I can't listen to Pimp a Butterfly all the time. I could listen to that album anytime. It's incredible. I get blown away each time too. And that's only one album. The dude has like, what, 5 others if you count like the B-sides tape and like the Black Panther album. I think it's 5. But and even his B-side throwaway album is like solid. It's better than most people's albums out there. Like, I don't know. He has a vision and can just put it out in such a vivid way. I guess it's the resources he's able to get when he's someone that big, but man, does it work for him. So number 3, this isn't a surprise to y'all, probably. I put MF Doom. Doom has been my soundtrack throughout all of my undergrad degree. Like, goodness, his sampling, his words, his voice, his wordplay, his lyrics, it just all comes together in such a great way with this weird aesthetic. He's a nerd. I mean, there's no other way around it. He's a nerd, and he made it possible to where other nerds could rap. Like, he paved the way for experimental artists like your JPEG Mafias to even like do what they want to do, and because he made it cool. I mean, all those cool little comic book samples, like, they're littered throughout. They give each album almost like a movie type feel, where you're watching this rise of this supervillain on a quest for world domination. And he makes even the most like simple concepts into things bigger than they are through sheer effort and wordplay alone. Like the whole album, Food, for instance. He takes like little concepts like certain foods and makes entire songs out of them and twists them in certain ways. And I don't know, he does such a great job with his delivery. I mean, he doesn't get like too fast. I mean, you can be he really shows that you can be lyrical without, spitting off the lyrical miracle garbage at 10 million words per minute. Because I mean, his wordplay alone, every verse is insane what he does, and he's not out here spitting 25 words a second. It's a cool, groovy, like head nod type flow. And on top of that, his production never misses. He had Madlib beside him with Mad Villain, but even on his own, like I could listen to his beats to study to, because they're so great. And man, losing him just hurt me more than it has hurt any other artist, or more than any other artist has hurt me in that kind of way, because of how attached I was to his music. But I have to put him at number 3. Number 2, Nas. Probably no surprise there for y'all, but Nas is the rapper in my opinion. Like, I would personally put him above every other rapper out there. Uh, Even above my number 1 technically, but I put him at number 2 just because of the sheer amount that I listen to my number 1, and we'll get to him in a sec. But Nas he can storytell in ways that no other artist can. He can paint a vivid picture that the way no other artist can. He can take all these concepts from the streets and black empowerment and just make wonderful works of art with them. Even at his lowest, he is like better than like a good 98% of rappers out there. And I know people critique his beat selection and they're all like, oh, his beats suck. You can't really say that when the first like 3 albums of his career were filled with some great beats. And even his modern stuff is pretty good, in my opinion. I thought Life is Good is great. I really liked King's Disease. I really liked it. That just came out last year. I don't know where that bad beat selection thing even really comes from. I mean, he has some duds, but most artists with that size catalog and most artists with that length of a career are gonna have some duds here and there. So, but even then, even at his lowest, man, I swear he just paints such a vivid picture and gets me going with every song. He is the rapper. His voice is perfect for rapping. And I mean, he put out the best album of all time, like across genres, in my opinion, when he was like 19. Like, and I know it's hard to top the best album of all time across genres, and he hasn't, but even then, I feel like he's come pretty close with certain projects. Like, Stillmatic is pretty good, in my opinion. God's Child, God's Son, I forget. It's pretty good too. It's up there, and I feel like he doesn't get the props that he accurately deserves because he took it to a whole nother level. But my number 1, we're finally getting to him. It's Freddie Gibbs. Ah, man, I love Freddie Gibbs. I used to go on and on and on about how about my top 5, and then one day, I think it was like my sophomore year, I listened to Freddie Gibbs for the first time. And I was like, man, this guy's pretty good. And I hear another song, I'm like, wait, that's the same guy? And another song, wait, huh? That's the same guy? The dude is the most versatile music machine I've ever heard. He can do songs in so many different styles, so many different ways, so many different like types of rap even. Like, he has your jazz rap, he has your like Madlib production type rap, he has your trap bangers, he has everything you could want. He has those slow, smooth singing songs even. Dude is incredible. I have never seen such a versatile musician push the boundaries of what he can do as consistently as Freddie Gibbs. He puts out so much music. He has a huge catalog, and not one of the albums is bad. Not one of the albums is the same. They're all different. I mean, I can listen to Babyface Killa and get a different kick out of it than I would of Pinata. I would say Pinata and Bandana are even different flavors, despite being both produced by Madlib and being like a 2-parter type series. Shadow of a Doubt isn't like You Only Live Twice. You know, it's just, he doesn't do anything the same. He continuously grows, and it just gets better and better and better and better. And I don't think that it's going to stop. He's still going to keep getting better and better and better. I mean, I don't know. He's just fantastic, phenomenal. And I think like a few years down the line, I would say he'd be in people's GOAT discussions by then. Because I feel like he has a classic with Pinata. Bandana might be a classic. Alfredo's definitely going to be a classic. That might win a Grammy.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, is it the nominations or whatever?
Yeah. Like that. He's just so solid, so versatile. And I haven't even gotten to how well he can rap. He can spit his ass off. Like, he is so good. Just all around. He hits every spot. He has a song for every mood, I bet. And I bet he still could find a different mood to release a song out to. I mean, just, I don't know. He's just so versatile and has so many different flavors. And he can make anything, I feel like. And it would work for him. But, yeah, that's my top 5 personal favorites. If you guys want to give your thoughts, I'd be happy to hear them.
I'll go first, I guess. Solid list. I don't remember what your last top 5 was. Probably something similar. Um, all the rappers that you said, except ASAP Rock, I'm familiar with, and they're also like, some of my favorite rappers, just not like top 5. I didn't know how large Freddie Gibbs' discography was. Like when you started naming the albums, I was like, wow, this guy really does have a big discography. That's why I haven't like listened to all of
Oh yeah,
the albums.
there's stuff like ESGN and the Miseducation of Freddie. I could go on and on about all day about Freddie albums, but yeah, his discography is unmatched and it's all solid.
Mhm. I haven't listened to too much Nas. The only album that I'm like super familiar with is Illmatic, and I gotta say, what's that one song where it uses the Michael Jackson sample? Um,
I'm drawing a blank. I know what you're talking about.
It Ain't Hard to Tell.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
song, I love that song. Oh my god, it's such a good song. And Life's a Bitch, that one too. I love those two songs off of that album.
I love that whole album. I have it on my wall.
Yeah, I
I have
remember.
the vinyl on my wall, and then I have a vinyl in my collection that's the national the national orchestra performing Illmatic with him rapping over it live. And
That's actually really dope. I love, dude, that Michael Jackson sample. When I first heard it, like that's my favorite song on that album. And
oh
I was
yeah,
gonna say one last thing. Rip MF Doom. I love Doom. Your rapper's favorite rapper. Um, yeah. Any thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, I kind of forgot about Kendrick. Um, that now saying that, I don't think he'd make my list still. Like I acknowledge that he is probably one of the greatest rappers out there right now, but I don't listen to him enough to really have him in my list personally. But I mean, the rest of your list, Jonathan, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's a surprise there. I know how much you love Freddie and MF Doom, especially.
all right. Well, thanks for replying. Let's move on. I guess we are going to top 5 favorite albums. I guess we'll go in reverse order just to spice things up, so we're not just Brandon, Richard, me,
Yeah.
Brandon. So I'll go first this time, and then we'll hear from you guys. So, top 5 favorite albums. All right. Number 5. This is the only non-rap album on my list. I had to put it here because it'd be a disservice to music for me not to mention. Number 5 is Daft Punk Discovery. Uh, Daft Punk was my introduction into music generally. I didn't really get into music until I heard them, and I got into them a lot. Um, Back in middle school, I was like, all I listened to is Daft Punk, Daft Punk, Daft Punk. Daft Punk's the reason that I like rap music. So, sorry, but I heard the Kanye song, and from then on, that's how the story goes. But I can't ignore the fact that Daft Punk's Discovery was so impactful on my life to this day. But I just really enjoyed Daft Punk. Discovery is their magnum opus in my opinion. The videos are cool. The vibe for each song is amazing. I I don't think there's a bad track on there. Uh, Harder, better, faster, stronger. One more time. I could go on and on about all of them, but every single song is fantastic in my opinion. Sad to hear of their breakup recently, but they didn't do anything for 8 years. It's not like soul crushing. It's not that bad. It could be worse, but eh. Anyways, number 4. This won't come as a surprise to any of y'all, but it's Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I love this album. It has this weird sense of royalty and ego behind it while being very flawed and imperfect at the same time, which just grasps the entire album throughout. The strange little musical twists and turns Kanye hides throughout. On the intro, for instance, the Dark Fantasy track, the "Can We Get Much Higher?" It has the so high, and then on the second time it just doesn't include that. It just throws you for a loop, like you want it to be there, but it's not there. And that's all over this album. There's so many different quirks to his production throughout that blow me away. Each song sounds bigger than it actually is. Each song sounds like a monumental statement while also being about something very real and personal and human. Power sounds like a freaking power trip, for crying out loud, and it's just him bragging.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like an orchestral like statement, and then it's just him bragging the whole time. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, what's that one line? I guess every villain needs his theme song or whatever.
Yeah. Like, goodness. Runaway, probably my personal favorite song of all time. The little simple piano bit that he just transforms into something so powerful and grand. If I had to describe this whole album in one word, it'd be grand. He just pumps so much grandiose into every single beat that no other artist has even attempted to do. No one has albums that feel this impactful. And I don't think we'll ever hear an album that sounds as impactful as this, but it's great. I love it. The only down I would give this album is I don't care for All of the Lights much, but it's a decent song. But it's the only one I could do without. But moving on to Pimp a Butterfly, I've already went into detail on it when I mentioned Kendrick earlier. But to Pimp a Butterfly, I mean, just blew me away the first time I heard it, and it's only blew me away more every time since. It's the one album that I don't feel like I'd need to wish for me to have heard it with fresh ears again to get something out of it, because it's just so powerful and impactful. A song like All Right, for instance, just showing how, things like police violence aren't enough to stop, the spirit that African Americans have. It's just powerful. It's a statement. It's grand again. And Kendrick has such an ear for every single song, mixing and blending these genres to hip hop. It's out of this world in my opinion. I love the album. I love the statement it makes. I love every song pretty much. I don't think I could think of one. Even the quirky little interlude at the beginning or the start, like it has a purpose, and it's just so powerful. I don't know. But next up, Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, Doom and Madlib team up for one of the greatest little collage-like albums ever. No two songs. All the songs are on the same album. That they don't really mesh as well as most people try when they come out with albums. But that was a different time. but it works. Each song is too short, in my opinion. They're very short songs. Each song feels like, man, I could use another like 5 minutes of that because it's so good. But each song is tailored to the point where it leaves you with just enough to like be hit by it. I love the little samples. Madlib's really quirky with his production. He's my favorite producer, so it makes sense that he would kind of blow me away with all of it. But I don't know. I love Doom over every single song. He flows like butter over every beat. He's just so great at what he does. So charismatic, so like competent, you know? It feels so effortless when he raps, and yet these words are so, you know, they come out of nowhere. And lastly, I've already mentioned it, it's no surprise, Illmatic. Nas Illmatic. My favorite album of all time. Best album across all genres, in my opinion. Best one. He paints this picture of his life in New York better than anyone else has to this day. And there are lots of albums out there about New York. Yeah. the whole feeling, each beat just takes you there. I've never set foot in New York. My dad's from New York, but I've never set foot in New York. But when I listen to this album, I feel like I'm there. I feel like I see the streets. I feel like I see the Queensbridge, you know? It takes me there, and I feel for him. I feel empathetic. I feel empowered by him, you know, saying all this stuff. He paints a picture so vividly, and yet he also sounds so confident and on top of it the entire time as well, that you just can't help but love the album. But yeah, that's my top 5 favorite albums. You want to take it from here, Richard, or you want to give your thoughts first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised with your list. I think it's a pretty solid list from my knowledge, you know, and that's only Kendrick Lamar and Kanye. So I mean, I only know, you know, Kendrick's album and Kanye's album, and I know you mentioned beforehand that that I had previously expressed my distaste for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but like, you know, after listening to it a little bit more, I I I have a lot more respect for it now. I like a lot more of the songs. I do have to agree though, All the Lights just doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. It sounds so out of place compared to the rest.
It was like the pop single that people liked. I don't know. I don't care for it myself, but it's not bad. It's just not good. Any thoughts, Brandon? Or
I was also gonna say, Discovery is one of, I wouldn't say one of my favorite albums, but it's definitely one of the albums that got me into music. I remember getting into, you know, the whole EDM music, house music, stuff like that, and Daft Punk was definitely one of my favorite artists when it came to that genre. Um, yeah, solid, good choices. I like all those albums. Um, yeah.
all right. Well, from there, I guess we're going into Richard's top 5. I'm very interested to hear. So, take the wheel.
I just want to warn everybody, you know, I want to give a little zoomer alert. There's going to be like no album like before 2010 on this list. This is all 2010 and forward albums. So to start that off, with number 5, one of the most zoomer albums I could think of, probably Saturation 2. Just a really fun, catchy set of tracks that was, you know, it was released when Brockhampton were figuring things out, and they were just releasing song after song, album after album, just tons of catchy, sticky hooks and really fun production from Romil Jabari. It was a soundtrack to like the summer after my high school graduation, because it was just, that whole time period was just so much fun. and the album really represents it well. For my fourth top album, I'd have to say Awaken My Love is probably number 4. I I really love how smooth everything sounds. It's such a departure from what Gambino was doing previously on Because the Internet, Camp, Kawaii. It's just such a turn out of left field for Gambino, and he hasn't really done anything with that sound since. It's really more of like a love letter to the old funkadelic albums of the past, and with songs like uh The Night Me and Your Mama Met. That one's just an instrumental track, but it's just so, I don't know, so innocent, so sweet. And then you have songs like Boogeyman and Riot that just come at you, and they have so much energy behind them. And I loved when I went to go see him on his This Is America tour. He started off Riot. It was very different from the album because he started off very slow and he let it gradually build up to that, that punchy, chaotic beat that we know from the album. It's just a really great, solid album. Number 3, I would have to give it to Igor. Another Zoomer album, of course, but this is his most cohesive, well put together soundtrack. It's almost like a movie soundtrack more so than Flower Boy was, because you're following his story of heartbreak and unrequited love, and it feels so much more real than most other albums or songs about love out there. And anyone can relate to it. Everyone's been through some sort of heartbreak or longing for someone that doesn't really like them back. And all of this is just sprawled out across so many different variations of tracks. You have Running Out of Time. It's a nice, slow, smooth song. Just feeling like he's running out of time to have someone fall in love with him, to just the chaotic energy of New Magic Wand and What's Good. And the closer is probably one of the best closers to an album that I've listened to. I really love his just like frustrated yell at the end. That has to be one of my favorite parts of the album. It's a really good breakup album, and I would say that Blonde, which is my second album, top favorite album, is, I wouldn't say it's similar, but it touches on a lot of the same themes. It's very, when I first listened to it, it was my freshman year of high school, and I couldn't get into it really. Nikes. I listened to Nikes, and it was just this high pitched, whining vocals, and I don't know, something about it wasn't clicking for me. But as I listened to it more and more, I was just able to pull so much more feeling and meaning out of the songs. And like after my first serious breakup, like this was the album that I came back to because it just really expressed what I was feeling at the time. Some of my personal favorite tracks on there are probably Self Control, White Ferrari, and Future of Free. And Frank also had that interview with his brother at the end of that song, and he tragically passed away earlier in 2020. So rest in peace to Ryan Brew. And my number 1 favorite album has to be Because the Internet. I know it's not the most polished album. There's probably a lot of dull spots in some people's minds. I know Fantano didn't really like this album that much, but earlier in the pandemic, something really drew me to this. I was just feeling so dreadful of what we were going through and how much of my life had changed because of it, and because the internet really just helped me through a lot of that. It's, Gambino struggling with the fact that we're all alone and nothing really matters, and he's just struggling to find purpose in his own life. And that, I don't know, that just the whole world that he created with that album really meant a lot to me during that time. I would probably say 3005, Telegraph Avenue, and Flight of the Navigator are some of the best tracks on that album. And yeah, those are my top 5.
Well, thanks for sharing. I am shocked about the because the internet edition. I could have swore it was gonna be blonde. I get
think
it.
I think it's more recency bias, honestly, but that's been an album that I've listened to consistently over time. And one thing I didn't mention either is like that was like when I got my first car and I first got my license, like that was the album that I was bumping in my car. I was just blasting Shadows over the speakers, and it's just I have a lot of nice memories attached to it, and it's just like a comfort album for me at this point.
No, yeah, I understand. I was just shocked. That's all. I am happy that you shared. You know, it's a little hard to share stuff like that sometimes, but thanks for doing that. Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I was really shocked to see because of the internet. I personally like the album. Pink Toes, really good song. Rainbow, the sun,
Yeah.
such a nice song. Sweatpants, good song. 3005, good song.
Mhm.
My one question is, why Saturation 2 over the other Saturations?
There were there was a lot of uh there were a lot of songs on Saturation 1 I just didn't really enjoy.
Mhm.
And Saturation 3, while I think it's good, I think it's not as loose as Saturation 2.
Is that after they kicked Amir, or was that before?
That's after. No, this is before.
That's
Amir.
before the
Okay.
yeah. The whole Saturation trilogy was before the Amir removal, and Iridescence was the immediate album that followed the Saturation trilogy.
All right, I remember now.
It's funny too because his face is literally the album cover for all 3 of them.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I can really get into them after Amir left. I don't know. Amir like grounded me to them because he was like the rapper of the group. Like they all rap, but like he was the only one that was like, yeah, I like that guy. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, he definitely added a lot to that trilogy because everyone else has somewhat like higher voices, but he was like when he rapped on a song, like I don't know, like you paid attention.
no, yeah, he was the good contrast, like sonically and subject matter wise. He was a little bit of darker than I feel like most
Yeah,
of the
he
other
was
ones.
really
Yeah.
yeah, he added the contrast, which I really like and miss from Brockhampton.
Enough about Amir. It's about us. Brandon.
All right, finally. I'm kidding. But yeah, top 5 favorite albums. I'm gonna start off with "Graduation" by Kanye West. Oh yeah, I was gonna say my honorable mentions real quick. Some of my honorable mentions going into this list: "Flower Boy" by Tyler the Creator, "My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy," "Bandana" by Freddie Gibbs, and "Discovery" by Daft Punk. All of those just a bit shy of making this list, but they're all still great albums in my opinion. But yeah, "Graduation" by Kanye. I love the production on that album so much. Like I know the album didn't age well, and there are some songs that are "Life Is Good" or whatever with T
Barry
Pain.
Bonds.
Oh yeah, or Barry, or "Drunken
I
Hiker."
like that one's not good either. I don't mind the T Pain one.
But I really enjoyed the production on that album. I want to say it was like my soundtrack coming into university. I remember playing I Wonder, and just me thinking about like, like I'm I'm finally here at a great university, and I want to be successful. Like that song was like the soundtrack to me coming here. And like Good Morning, that song is really relatable. Like um, especially the music video. Graduation. Uh, what's his name again? Dropout Bear, waking up late, almost missing his graduation. Um, but yeah, I just love the production, uh, and yeah, it's become like a part of me. Next album I'd say is I don't know if you guys have heard of this artist. His name is Echo 2K. He's associated with uh, Young Lean, if you have heard of him at least. And his album called E is one of my favorites. This is kind of like recency bias with like Richard, but in like the past 1 year, 2 years, I've gotten into this. I don't know what this genre is exactly called. All I know is that it's like cloud rap, basically. And E is one of my favorite albums because it's like fun music. Like really, it's really experimental too, but it's fun music. I love the overuse of auto tune. Uh, like for example, in there's one song in that album called Peroxide. I really love that song. Just something about his vocals. It's almost like mesmerizing, really. AAA Powerline is another one of my favorite songs on that album. You guys should definitely check out Echo 2K. I don't know if you guys might like him, but E is one of my favorite albums. And so I guess my third favorite album, and these are in no particular order. I'm just like um going off of my list here. I'd say Die Lit by Playboy Cardi. I had a tough choice of like choosing which Cardi album I wanted to put here, either self-titled or Die Lit. And I went with Die Lit mostly because I don't find myself listening to self-titled that much. But apparently when Die Lit dropped, everyone hated the album because it wasn't self-titled Playboy Cardi. And I loved Die Lit when it first came out. I just loved the new sound that he was making. I remember listening to Rip and like moshing in my room just listening to that song. I think the only song that was hard to get into on that album was Lean for Real with Skepta. But I've been listening to that song like on repeat. I just love that song so much. But yeah, Dilate, one of my favorite albums. And I think it's I don't I think it's Cardi's best album too. Sorry, whole lot of Red fans and self-titled fans. Number two, this is hard. But I put Blonde, Frank Ocean. Blonde, like Richard said, it's a really great album that touches upon about themes of like love, basically. And it has some great features, like Beyonce. There's some uh, Tyler involvement in production. There's Young Lean in that album too. There's a lot of features on that album that that are just amazing. Like getting Beyonce on Blonde was amazing, and I love her vocals. And I think it's Pink and White. I love her vocals on that song. And Blonde touches close to me, especially the songs Self Control and Good Guy. Um, I've recently gone through something, unrequited love, and I think Good Guy captures that feeling like so perfectly because in that song Frank just sounds defeated because he knows that the person that he's out with a date on, like he doesn't share the same feelings as he does, and it crushes Frank knowing this because there's this one line that sticks out at the end of the song. I think it's and to you it's just another late night out, and that line like like devastated me because like I just don't know how he captured that feeling so perfectly. Like this date means the world to me, and to the other person it's like, oh, it's just whatever, it's just a hangout, it's whatever. And I really love Blonde. Really, I hold it close to my heart. A great album to go to if you ever want to, just have a little cry session. Um, yeah, and to top it off, Igor, my favorite album. I want to maybe of all time. I don't know, but I love Igor. I think Igor is really personal coming from Tyler. I think it's his most mature work yet, and it outshined Flower Boy quickly, like Richard said. But I think Igor is I don't know. I don't know if it's his best album, but like it was really good. Some of my favorite songs on there, like New Magic Wand captures the feeling of jealousy, kind of like um, with Good Guy, how it's like, oh, like unrequited love. New Magic Wand captures the feeling of jealousy, like I need to cut out this person that my person is talking to so I could be with them, and I just don't understand how, like, the song literally sounds like jealousy, like the feeling that you get when you're jealous of, like the person you're interested in is talking to someone else. So that's one of my favorite songs on there. Richard talked about Running Out of Time, and I really love that song. Tyler makes it seem as if like it's a sense of hopelessness, as if like you really are running out of time, to make this person fall in love with you, to tell this person, hey, I want to be with you for the rest of time, whatever. And yeah, Igor's overall just a really great heartbreak album, really personal, like I said. I related to the album a lot, especially with New Magic One. God, like, jeez. Um, but yeah, those are my favorite albums.
All right. Any thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, I've heard of Echo 2K before, but I've never actually listened to any of his music.
Hmm.
I actually
Uh,
haven't heard of him. You should link it after we're done. I can...
Yeah, I'll link it. I don't know if you guys might. I don't know if you guys will like it, but I don't know. There's something about his voice and his vocals in that album that I just really love. And I think Fantano gave it like a 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10.
oh
7.
wow. I you know, I don't really understand like the hype for Playboy Cardi, and might get attacked for that. But I mean, he was good on Earthquake, so I mean, I can't get into him any other way unless he's like a pill slipped into a Tyler song, I guess.
Mhm.
I completely agree with Blonde and Igor. I mean, those are just wonderful, beautiful albums. And you bring up a good point about New Magic Wand sounding like jealousy. Back when I was going through some toxic phases, that was just like that really was like one of the songs I just played on repeat because it was like it's like the song is like when a bull sees red, and like
Mhm.
in my mind, it's like ready to charge, ready to make a move at any moment because you're not getting the attention you feel like you deserve.
Mhm. I was gonna say, I really like Cardi's verse on Earthquake or whatever. It's what like blew up the whole baby voice Cardi or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's speaking hieroglyphics or whatever. So yeah. Any thoughts, Tyra?
Not really. I mean, kind of what I expected other than the Echo guy. I've never heard of him, but I mean, I like Blonde. It's pretty good. I don't like it as much as y'all, but I mean, different life experiences lead to different, things connecting a bit more, and I
Mhm.
understand that. I like Cardi, not as much as you. I don't think it's possible to like him as much as you, but
Yeah.
you know, I like Dial It. It's a good album. Yeah. All right, we can move on to next. We're talking about the top 5 albums from 2020. We're gonna do 2020 because it's been 3 months into 2021, and Nothing too significant has dropped, I don't think.
Yeah, who's dropped albums? Like,
I
Slow tie.
know, yeah, Slow Tie.
okay, there's one. But basically,
Gibbs
not that
has some
much.
singles. But
There was the Denzel single, but it was just like a.
yeah, let's swap it up a bit. We're gonna do Richard first. Richard,
Oh
you're up.
boy. So I'll be honest, guys. You know, I didn't plan out listening to new rap albums a year in advance. I only have three, but and you know, two of them aren't even albums. Two of them are EPs. But these are like these are the three projects that I really liked in 2020. I'd say with number three, I would say EP by JPEG Mafia. It wasn't really, it wasn't really like released as an EP really, because like the singles Bald, Covered in Money, Bodyguard, those were just released, you know, like once a week, and then he just decided to compile them in an EP on streaming. But you know, each song brought something new. Bald was crazy the first time I listened to it. Covered in Money is another solid song, and I really love just his flow and the beats on Cutie Pie. His line about Billie Eilish is really funny to me, just cause just cause of like how absurd that line really is. And number two, I'd have to give it to Last Year Was Weird, Volume 2 by TK Meiza. I got put onto this by Fantano. I think he rated it like an 8 or something, and I was completely blown away. I didn't think it would be. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. But she really has a wide variety of songs on this EP. There's songs like Shook and Awake that are just really, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like they're more rap than, I mean, this is a rap podcast, but they are like really good rap songs with really good production, and JPEG Mafia has a really nice feature on Awake as well. And she has really catchy hooks on those. And then you have songs like 24K and You Sad that are a little bit more smooth, a little bit of a departure from rap, but it's still uh, great music coming out of her on that EP. I'm really excited to see uh, what she's gonna drop in the future, if it's gonna be a full album or another EP like this. And my favorite album of 2020 was probably 31520 by Childish Gambino. It dropped at a weird time. It dropped when everything was going down in the world, and he just dropped it casually out of nowhere. He put it up on a website and had it streaming for about a week or 24 hours before he took it down, and then released it the next week. But I was really happy to see Algorithm on the album. He teased it quite a bit, and that song is just a really nice, catchy, smooth, uh, catchy, smooth song. He samples "Hey Mr. DJ" by a DJ Dahi, and it really fits really well here. And then we have 1910, which is a really like poppy song. I guess it's not really so much rap, but it's still like a really great, fun, catchy song. People really loved 1238, which is the song with 21 Savage, but I personally uh didn't really care for it all that much. It's 6 minutes and 32 seconds, which I felt dragged on for quite a while, but that was probably the point. But even though I didn't like that one song, like the rest of the album is really good. I'd say 5349 as well. is a really great closer to what I thought was going to be his last album ever. But he announced last year that he was going to release more. So I'm really excited to see what he comes out with, because I know, 315/20 was good, but I know whatever is coming next will be better.
All right, not bad. That's pretty nice. I listened to it a couple months ago. I come back to.
Mhm.
I wish he named the songs like an actual name instead of numbers, because I can't remember what two songs I go back to. But yeah, there's like two songs I go back to on that album.
Yeah, and the weird thing with that album is that he released it two different ways. He released it with individual track listings with the timestamps, and then he released it as a one continuous song. And I don't know what the meaning behind that is. I don't know why he chose to do it like that.
Mhm.
All right. Well, Brandon, how about you go next?
All right, so top five albums of 2020, because obviously 2021, not much has happened. I'm gonna start off with Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist. Really great album, really great features, really great production. Um, I really like the whole aesthetic of the album. Uh, yeah, I just love the aesthetic of the album. I haven't listened to it too much as of recently, but I think some of my favorite songs on there are Something to Rap About, and there's this one other song I don't remember. Let me find it real quick. I think it's uh, Frank Lucas, I think. Yeah, those two songs I go back to a lot. Um, Unlocked by Denzel Curry, another one of my favorites of 2020. Great production by Kenny Beats. He's one of my favorite producers. Um, I really like the animation that he made with the EP or whatever. I thought it made me I guess made me envision the album basically. Limbo by Amine. I wasn't really, I wouldn't say a fan of Amine, but I just never got into Amine at first, and then one of my friends, she introduced me to his album. I think it was 3.5 or whatever, and I enjoyed that album. And so I listened to Limbo with them, and Limbo easily became like one of my favorite albums, like probably like top 50 somewhere along there. There are some really great songs on there, like "Pressure in My Palms," which features Vince Staples and Slow Thigh. Really great song. I love the little Kanye shout out that he does in that song. "Mama," another great song. Really emotional song. Giving thanks to his mom or whatever. So I really enjoyed that album. This one's going to be a little bit controversial. No Pressure, Logic. Uh, so I used to be a really big Logic fan back in the days before he dropped Everybody, or around that time, basically. And ever since Everybody, Logic was just missing every single time. He missed with Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. He missed with Supermarket. Young Sinatra 4 was pretty forgettable. That album was mainly mostly for the fans that wanted to like reminisce about the old Logic days, Young Sinatra. Uh, you know, but No Pressure, I think in my opinion, it's one of the best comebacks for a rapper in general, from coming from so many L's in their career. No Pressure was a great way to end off Logic's discography because he retired, you know. But yeah, I really love No Pressure. I love the sampling. He samples, well, technically he doesn't sample, but he borrows a lot of Tyler samples. Like I think he even sampled Tyler playing the piano to Running Out of Time, I think. Yeah, that's the in Amen he sampled Tyler playing the piano to his song Running Out of Time. So I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, No Pressure was a great way for Elijah to announce his retirement. And then the last album that I want to talk about is A Whole Lot of Red by Playboy Cardi. This was really hyped up heavily anticipated, because Cardi hasn't dropped like an album in, like, what, 3 years or whatever. No, 2 years. But everyone was, hyping up the leak, saying like, "Oh, if this leak is on the album, like it's gonna go number one or whatever." And then Cardi just like I think out of out of all of the songs that were leaked from like 2018 to 2020, I think only like two made it on the album. That being Neon and Place. And Cardi really shook things up with that album. Like his sound was completely different from Dialect. At least in the first half of the album. At first, I wasn't a big fan of the album. Like I quickly brushed it off. Gave it a 5 out of 10. But then, like, I kept listening to it, and over time, it got like really catchy. And I think it is a music that you should listen to. Like sitting down and like just like reading a book or whatever. It's music that you listen to when you're like at a party, when you just want to get like hype and stuff. Um, some of my favorite songs on there are New Tank. They thought he was gay. Um, Rockstar Made, that's a pretty good song on there. On That Time. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed the album. One of my friends, when they first listened to the album, they were like, "Oh yeah, I love this album," and I was like, "No, I disagree." And then like I eventually like admitted to them like, "Oh yeah, you're right. This album's actually not that bad. It's actually like a 7 out of 10." But yeah, I'm really glad that Cardi went in a different direction because it would have been pointless to drop another Dialect. And I feel like I think he's starting like a new sound, with this combining like punk and rap. But yeah, enough about me fanboying about Cardi. I think those 5 albums were the best of 2020. Any mhm. I mean, you haven't listened to it, so I mean, Pantano did give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but he also had an interview like the week before.
Mm,
Anyways, uh, solid list. I like the Amine album. I won't talk about the Amine album. Hint or spoiler, whatever you would call it.
mm.
Any thoughts, Richard?
Richard's dead.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was muted. Yeah, so I listened to Limbo a little bit, and I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of Amine myself. I think he's great to listen to if like my brain is turned off, but if really listen to what like his lyrics, sometimes I don't think he has a
Mm.
lot to say, except for in the song about his mom. And what was the song about him dating a white girl?
Um. Oh shoot! I feel like I should know this. Um. Ratchet Saturn Girl, maybe, but that was like on.
No, that was on 1.5, but
Yeah,
that was a
1.5.
good song.
I'll let my hoes ratchet.
Oh, Becky. I figured it was Becky, but I didn't want
Yeah,
to.
Becky. There you go.
Yeah, I think Becky and Becky, Pressure My Palms. Those are really good songs on the album.
Very interesting album. Nas, King's Disease. Nas came out of nowhere with it. Um, Dropped unexpectedly. I wasn't expecting it, but we got it. And I wasn't too excited about it because Nas had just come off of dropping Nasir, which was the Kanye produced 7-track album recently, and that one was it was a miss for me. I didn't much care for it. I don't think many Nas fans cared for it, but so I wasn't too excited because I was scared I was going to go in a similar direction, but I think he curved it back up around, and I think it's a very solid album. Uh, songs like "All Bad" with Anderson .Paak. That's a nice pairing. You love to hear Anderson on a track. He's got a song with who is it? Big Sean and Don Toliver. It's pretty good too. I really like Sean's verse. Yeah, King's Disease, very good album. Number 4, I have Run the Jewels with Run the Jewels 4. Run the Jewels have been some of my favorite artists for a while. I used to put Run the Jewels 2 on my top 5 list. But I've kind of changed since then, and that's fine. You're supposed to change your opinion here and there, but Run the Jewels 4, they kind of they still have their similar formula, but they're always evolving. They're always pushing forward for that new sound, and I think they do a really good job of growing on this album. It's very charged due to the times. They dropped it like mid pandemic. Lots of it is very socially conscious, aware music, and goodness, Killer Mike has one verse on "Walking in the Snow" that almost brings a tear to your eye. Like it's beautiful. It's powerful. It's great stuff. I bump Yankee and the Brave in the car quite often. Ooh La La is really good. All those songs I'd recommend. Number 3, I have Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist. Just like Brandon. Very good album. Very good. Again, Freddie, versatile, amazing artist. Alchemist, one of the best producers to ever do it. History of excellence. I don't even have to talk about them. The music, very great. Great pairing, great chemistry between them. Between Freddie on the lyrics and Alchemist on the beats. Each song is smooth. Each song is great. Freddie flows like a madman over every single one of them. He tears up every verse. I really like the songs "Baby Shit" and he has "Skinny Sug." That one's pretty good. I think it's 1984. I could be wrong about the number, but that song's really good. But yeah, number 2, I have Aesop Rock with Spirit World Field Guide. Again, Aesop paints such weird, vivid imagery in your head, and this time it's no different. This time he's talking about this strange concept of the spirit world and gives you little tips for how to survive it. It's a strange concept for an album, but it's one that Aesop Rock can only make work because he does a fantastic job. All the production sounds like it's video game boss music. It sounds incredible. He's reaching some of his tip top form on some of these songs. Some of these verses are insane. Pizza Alley is a standout. Gauze, I like. Katakushi, very good song. I highly recommend the ASAP Rock album. And my number 1 spot is Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats with Unlocked. Dream team right there, in my opinion. They have such great chemistry. Holy crap! That again, that video, just like Brandon, you mentioned, the video with the little cartoon of them jumping from dimension to dimension. That's so cool. And I remember just playing because each song is short. They're too short, honestly. Pyro is too short. It feels like I could listen to these songs forever, but I can't. So you just end up listening to the album on repeat for like hours because it's like a 20-minute album. But that 20 minutes is so impactful. It shows their chemistry. This is some of Kenny's best beats. This is some of Denzel's best work. I think he freestyled most of it, but it really shows how good of a rapper he is. I mean, it's just he's showing off, and it's great. It might not be on the level of like Taboo, because that's probably his magnum opus right now, but I definitely hold it in the upper end of his discography. I mean, it's a great album, and I just constantly come back to it because it's just, short songs, bangers. I can always drive to this stuff, I can always replay this stuff, and that's probably why it's my favorite album of the year. But moving on. Don't want to hold these two guys too long. We're gonna wrap it up Richard has abstained from this conversation because he doesn't think he's knowledgeable enough to discuss it, which is fair. But me and Brandon are gonna hash out who we think our greatest of all time is, our top 5 goat list. This will be interesting because I'm very much an old head with my Nas Illmatic and my Doom, and he's very much the Zoomer.
Yeah, you're gonna see just how much.
And my number 4 is Playboy Cardi. Okay, well, we're gonna get into this discussion, and let's just see how it happens. You want to go first? I just got done talking, so.
Yeah, I'll go first. So, I think there is no go. I think number one goes play. No, I'm just kidding. Um, all right. So, these are in no particular order. I just think they're all like great in their own ways. I personally don't think there's like one go like above all others. I think they've all done like different things. They've all influenced different groups of people, different groups of artists. But still, regardless, these guys, um, you know, should have this title. So Kanye West, obviously, um, Kanye has influenced a lot of rappers, a lot of my favorite rappers. His production too, amazing. Uh, I think Kanye has like one of the most solid discographies of just like all rappers. I mean, the College Dropout, classic. Late Registration, classic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, classic. Yeezus, like that. Yeezus opened up, um, the whole side of experimental hip hop, whatnot. Um, I found it hard to get into Yeezus the first time I listened to it, and then like over time I got used to it. Uh, and it's become one of my favorite Kanye albums. Uh, yeah, Kanye definitely deserves the title of GOAT. Whether you like it or not, he's influenced a lot of people, a lot of rappers, a lot of production. Like 808 and Heartbreaks too. Like that's my least favorite album, and yet I can still acknowledge that it's influenced a generation of like these heavily auto tune rappers, which isn't a bad thing because I love that sound too. And but yeah, Kanye definitely a goat. Another goat, Andre 3000. Outcast. I don't really have that much to say about Andre 3000, but I really love the features that he does. For example, on Blonde, he has a feature. A lot it scares people like out of nowhere because he comes in like just like really loud. I think the last song is like Nights or something. So like he just kind of like just comes in barging in. Um, yeah, I think Andre 3000 has influenced a lot of rappers. Um, there's a lot of I want to say there's a lot of people like still like there's people that like sample like his music still and like rap over the beats of Outkast. So Andre 3000 definitely a go. Um, I want to say Kendrick Lamar, another go. Of course, like right next to Kanye, he has a really solid discography. I think like really there's only like one album I really don't like, and that's Damn. I wasn't really so much of a fan of Damn, but like To Pimp a Butterfly, masterpiece. Good Kid, Mad City, masterpiece. I just love those two albums because like Jonathan said, it paints a picture. Like like when you listen to the album, you're in that album. You can write essays about the album. I love the production. As some of my favorite producers on that on To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City, great album too. Shoot, I'm trying to think of Section 80. I think that's what the
Yeah.
yeah. I'm also a fan of that. I love Ronald Reagan era. I think that's the song. I always come back to that song for some reason. Yeah, Kendrick Lamar definitely deserves the title of a go, and he's still going. I think people are expecting like an album this year or whatever. So he's definitely up there. Great storyteller, great just in general. Right now, this is where it's gonna get a little bit controversial, but I want to say Chief Keef is a goat. Chief Keef at 18 years old had a was a feature for Kanye. And I think that's amazing. Chief Keef paved the way for all these like SoundCloud rappers and all this like rappers rapping about materialistic things. He was one of the driving forces to that. And even though he's not as relevant today as he was back then, a lot of rappers are heavily influenced by him. Um, and I guess like he opened up that section of rap, this whole rapping about materialistic things, lean, guns, drug, money, sex, whatever. So even though he's not like, what one might call like a lyricist or like, whatever, Chief Keef definitely paved the way for SoundCloud rappers, and it's why some of these SoundCloud rappers have found success. And it's due to Chief Keef. And then another goat, I wouldn't say he's necessarily a goat yet, but I think he will be in the next decade or so. Tyler the Creator. Uh, the Odd Future movement was amazing. Like, those memes that you've been seeing like on Twitter, whatever. Like, you had to be there to see it. People were dressing up as them. They completely stood out from other rap collectives. Like sporting tie dye shirts, skinny jeans, skateboards. Um, they they just came in like out of nowhere. They promoted their own music. They promoted themselves. They had no big label to promote them. And they were kids too. They were like what, 18? I think Tyler was 17, 18 years old when he wrote Bastard and released it. And was um the group was really diverse too. You had Frank Ocean, you had Earl Sweatshirt, the lyricist, you had Sid the Kid, um, and you even had like some of the lesser known names like Haji and Damu Genesis and whatnot, Mike G. But regardless, Odd Future really pushed that do it yourself mentality um, to a bunch of like young upcoming rappers. Like Playboy Cardi was a big fan of Tyler. You could hear the Odd Future influence in his early music. Isaiah Rashad, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but Isaiah Rashad, he said that if it wasn't for Tyler the Creator and Bastard, he wouldn't have committed to becoming a rapper. XXX Tentacion, who passed away 3 years ago, he was also a big Odd Future Tyler the Creator fan. Um, so I think like right now, because Tyler's still making music, he's still producing. Um, but in a few years or a decade or so, Tyler is definitely going to be up there for discussion of being a goat just because of the influence. We're going to see like I think we haven't seen the full extent to his influence. I think it's still a little bit too early to like say like all of these people were influenced or whatever. But like it's hard to deny the fact that he made an impact on like it's hard to deny the fact that he made an impact on rap culture today. I mean, even and I'm rambling on a bit, but he even influenced like what rappers wear. Like Supreme wasn't a big thing that people were wearing until Tyler started wearing, until Odd Future started wearing it. That's why the resale value is so high because of him. Not 100%, but like because of him, and he's influenced other the creation of other rap collectives like Brockhampton. They are arguably a little bit better than Odd Future as a collective, simply because Odd Future only like produced like what, 2 tapes in total. But yeah, Tyler definitely. Um, I think he's a GOAT just because of the amount of influence and his solid discography. Granted, it's not the best, but I mean, I think his past 2 albums had definitely been like easily 9 out of 10 and above. So yeah, that's 5 GOATs.
All right. Richard, do you have any input or thought on what Brandon just said?
The Chief Keef, the Chief Keef inclusion really threw me off guard because I mean you have Kanye, you have Andre, you have Kendrick, and then Chief Keef number 2.
I wanted to like include like all areas of rap, because there's not just like mm, yeah, I would have put Lil B, but his discography is huge.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you're right. When people make these GOAT lists, a lot of the same people come up. So I mean, it's good that you're broadening your sense of what it truly means to be like the greatest of all time, even within the rap sphere.
No, yeah.
Although the Zoomer in me agrees with Tyler for sure.
I will say, once you hear my list, you're gonna hear. I think we have different metrics for what makes someone a goat, which is fine. It's part of the discussion itself. But our lists are gonna vastly differ. Other than one pick, you actually had one of my picks here, which is interesting.
Mm.
So I'll go ahead and get into it, and then we can discuss it a little bit more. So my number 5 pick, which is gonna be strange to most of y'all. My number 5, I've ordered these. They could go in any order except for number 1, maybe, because I think number 1 is like the de facto GOAT. But number 5, I put Lupe Fiasco. I think, no, he is the best rapper out there. Rapper. He is able to form words into a narrative, kind of like Aesop Rock, except I'd argue a bit better and a bit more accessible than Aesop Rock. And he touches on themes that are a little more important. But he's able to just put together such beautiful narratives and stories, and just throughout his entire discography. I think his discography is consistent. I just would argue that it's not as accessible. You could say The Cool and Food and Liquor are accessible. Tetsuo and Youth, it's a great album. Fantastic. I would argue it's a little bit on the less accessible side. And Wave Files definitely, or not Wave File, it's Drogus Wave. Drogus Wave is definitely not accessible, but it's still beautiful. A work of art, in my opinion. And I think Lupe is the prime example of what happens when someone pushes rap as an art to its boundaries. I don't think anyone else has done it even close to as like good as he has when it comes to rapping. I think he's just that good of an example of a rapper. The only slight I'd give against Lupe is, well, his accessibility, and Lasers as a project is just very middle of the road poppy rap, and that's label stuff that made that happen. But whatever. Number 4, I'd be interested to know if you guys even know who this is. Most Def.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay. So you're not completely out of the loop, I guess. But Most Def, he only has 2 albums under the moniker. He's since rebranded as Yazin Bey. But I mean, his albums are the epitome of rap. Black Star, his collab with Talib Kweli, fantastic album. He again, he's a boundary pusher. I feel like he is what happens when rap is taken to its near perfect state. And he's unapologetically himself. He's unique. His delivery is fantastic. He has just pure feeling for the art that he's chosen, and it shows in all of his music. The only slight I'd give against him is short discography, and he's not widely known, which is fine. I don't think you necessarily have to be widely known or influential to be a GOAT, in my opinion. But the next artist that I have is the opposite, I would say. I have Jay-Z at number 3. Jay-Z, I've always said that objectively, if there was a objective GOAT, it would be Jay-Z. He has the discography, he has the longevity, he has the career, he has the music, he has the lyrics, he has the production, he has the features, he has the number 1 list on like everything, including like earnings, and including like how successful he is, and including everything. He is the rapper that if you ask your Kendrick, if you ask your Eminem, if you ask your anyone, who's your favorite rapper, they're going to say Jay-Z probably. He is the epitome of hip-hop. And while I'm a big Nas guy, I don't have Nas on this list. I think Jay-Z has more of a case for the GOAT spot than Nas. And I love Nas. But Jay-Z, if anyone has an unarguable spot on a GOAT list, it's Jay-Z in my opinion. No one has come close to his level of influence, his level of longevity, his level of widespread fame. I bet my mom knows who Jay-Z is. He's just so well known, and so I bet you could mention rap to just random people and they would probably think of Jay-Z. Like, he's that tied to the genre. So I'd put him at 3, if not 2, if not 1. Although my 1 spot I feel like just deserves it downright. Number 2, I have Andre 3000. You listed him as well. Outcast fame, does things with words that you could only imagine, has such strange yet intoxicating style to him, Just, he's the one that kind of pushed the boundaries of what you can do with rap music, before it was all boom bap, like, boom, boom, just rapping. He really took the art and made it much more, and I feel like he influenced an entire geographic location to rap. He's the reason for your Thuggers. He's the reason for your, Migos. He's your reason for T.I. even. Like, he is so... he's influential, but he's also great at what he does. He's musically talented. He's gifted. He knows how to spit. He can do it all. And I'm sad that he doesn't do more. Because honestly, him ending early kind of brings up some what ifs, like, oh, he's not as good as before. But even then, he'll have a feature here and there and just remind you, no, I'm still here. I'm still good. And it works every time. Number 1, I think that this guy has earned the spot no matter what you say. He has one of the longest careers, one of the most critically acclaimed careers, probably the best rapper that isn't Lupe Fiasco, but he makes better music. And that's Black Thought of The Roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Thought can... Oh, man. Like, I'd give an honorable mention to B.I.G., because B.I.G. does it effortlessly, but Black Thought does it effortlessly. Like, he'll get in a booth and spit and, like, it's nothing to him. He's singing his ABCs. And it's not like he's spitting some, like, simple stuff. He'll rap some complex bars, some entendres, some multi-syllable rhyme schemes. He'll drop something like it's some people's like debut hit album in like a freestyle. And then he'll drop even better music when he's actually making music. The Roots have one of the most legendary runs in the entire genre. All of their albums are fantastic, like near perfect masterpieces. And Black Thought really pushes the envelope to where that is a possibility. Because, his lyrical ability is unmatched. Even by the people on this list, he probably can out-rap all of them. Except maybe Lupe. But, again, Lupe's kind of weird, which is fine, but Black Thought is just out of this world insane when it comes to rapping. And I put him at number 1 every time, and I saw that stupid tweet that was trending the other day, and it got me upset.
Oh yeah, the Black Thought tweet.
Oh man, who is a Black Thought? Like, what? Oh, that got me upset. But yeah, I think he undeserved he deserves the spot at number one more than any other artist just for his pure ability and his musical talent alone. Like he's unmatched. Um, but yeah. So before I end, I'll say a few differences that I noticed between our lists, other than the time gap.
Yeah.
I do think that you put a lot of emphasis on influence, which I did to an extent. Jay Z 3000,
Mm-hmm.
but Lupe and Mos Def, they're not as influential. Mos Def maybe, but they're not as influential as like a Jay Z or maybe even a Kanye, even arguably. Uh, I'd also say that discography is a big thing for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not necessarily for me. Mos Def has like what, 2 solo albums, I think. If you don't count, forget what it's even called. There's one really out there one, but uh, yeah. Any thoughts from either of you regarding that, or
I'll let Rich go first.
You know, I'm surprised that it took like this long for Jace to be mentioned at all in this podcast. But I mean, yeah, yeah, he's really influential. I really liked his feature on Piking, a Frank Ocean song. And
There's the time gap.
the what?
The time gap. Just like, oh.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, just because like yeah, that's all I really know him from. And I know you tried to get me to listen to Lupe. You had me listen to Droga Swave, and I really just couldn't get into it. But I'm glad that he has had like such an impact on you. You consider him a top tier artist.
I want to say that influence plays a big part when I'm like talking about Go or whatever, because I feel like if you want to be considered, one of the greatest rappers of all time, you got to leave some type of footprint, and not just like, oh, um, basically you have to leave some kind of like footprint that lingers on, that people are like, oh, like I want to be just like this guy, but better, or like, oh, this guy pushed me to to give up everything and become a rapper.
no, yeah.
So yeah, I just like influence because
And
I don't know, it
influence
just
plays a role. No, don't get me wrong,
yeah.
but I don't think it's the sole defining factor. Because
Yeah, most definitely. And I think like you said, there's like a time gap. I'm not too familiar with Lupe. I'm not too familiar with Most Def or Black Thought, which I should, because um rap has such a like a
it,
big history.
yeah,
There's so much
it's a
out
long spanning genre, and
there. Hmm.
I mean, most def early thousands really. Um, Black Thought spans from I don't even know when. And, uh, he had tracks with Big Pun and stuff like
Hmm.
that was a while back. And Lupe's a bit more. I think he's the more modern artist here. Because Outkast came out in the '90s, Jay Z '90s. Lupe is probably the most modern artist here. But I think in the short time that he has existed, he has displayed such great technical ability that I think is unrivaled, which makes me think he's deserving of a spot in that list.
But yeah, that's I don't know. I just like the big differences between us.
No, yeah, and that's the beauty of this. I mean, we're not gonna have the same taste. You and Richard have a bit of a similar taste, but even then, I'd argue that you guys like different things.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, hey, we're gonna find that out a lot more later down the road, so we have plenty of time. So, in closing, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you got a kick out of us talking about our likes and dislikes or whatever. We're probably going to start reviewing, I want to say. Maybe reviewing is a wrong word. We're going to talk about albums.
Discussion.
Yeah, we're going to discuss albums. I don't know how we're going to pick them yet. We might have fans decide down the road, depending on if this takes off or not. But we're going to start discussing albums that we pick. We'll talk about some current event stuff, maybe. Kanye divorce, whatnot. The baby and his antics. I don't know. We'll get there when we get there.
The JoJo Sweet of this.
yeah. But thank you all for watching. Any last thoughts before we sign off from either of you?
Stream Whole Lotta Red. Yeah, there's my shout out.
Tyrant album of the year 2021.
All right, there we go. Listen to Slow Tie, and we'll see you next week. Sayonara.
See you guys.